I'm Petty Officer Liz Murray. An outbreak of E. coli in Germany is causing alarm and changes in diet for service members and their families stationed in Europe. Air Force Staff Sergeant Lance Heinzelman reports from Ramstein Air Base in Germany.
A recent E. coli outbreak in Germany has caused U.S. military food service facilities across Europe to pull raw cucumbers, tomatoes, and lettuce from their menus.
One of the experts that I'm working with daily to make sure that we have the current information told me that this is probably the third most dangerous outbreak of E. coli in the world. And so it's really a very serious threat.
Germany's National Health Service reports more than 1,500 people have been infected. So far, there are no confirmed cases of the virus among U.S. military personnel or their families, and health officials aim to keep it that way.
Practice good food safety, and that is making sure that you wash your vegetables that are going to be served raw, especially in this case, cucumbers, tomatoes, and salad lettuces.
There are symptoms to be aware of if you think you've eaten any contaminated vegetables.
The important thing to do is to remember that because this bacteria works by breaking down blood cells and releases blood into the system, if you have bloody diarrhea, you should report yourself to your primary care physician or the nearest emergency room as soon as possible.
Air Force Staff Sergeant Lance Heinzelman, Ramstein Air Base, Germany.
The president's choice for chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff calls his nomination a great honor. General Martin Dempsey, currently the Chief of Staff for the Army, says he's humbled by and up for the challenge.
You've seen some of the speculation in the press about why did they pick Dempsey. You know, look, the answer is the president, thank God, and I hope the nation is confident in the fact that he had a lot of choices. I mean, honestly, there are other individuals who could have done the job. So I have to believe that from the bench of those who had the skills, knowledge, and attributes, I was selected principally because of my experiences. That's the assumption I'll make.
General Dempsey took part Friday in the 3rd Army's change of command ceremony at Fort McPherson, Georgia. The unit is moving to Shaw Air Force Base in South Carolina. The 3rd Army's new commander is General Vincent Brooks. He replaces retiring General William Webster. An Iraq War veteran foils a bank robbery in Sarasota, Florida. Staff Sergeant Eddie Peoples was in the bank with his 2 kids, seen here in the background of the surveillance tape, when the alleged robber, Matthew Rogers, pointed a gun and threatened the children. Sergeant Peoples followed Rogers outside of the parking lot and cornered him with his car.
So all of a sudden the gun comes up like this. I grab it, twist, I take it away from him, I move around right here, and I basically take him down to the ground.
The gun turned out to be a fake. The sheriff gave Staff Sergeant Peoples, who has served 3 tours in Iraq, a certificate of recognition for his actions. That's your news update. For more military news, head online to PentagonChannel.mil. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter.
Coming up in the June edition of Recon, scientists working with the U.S. Army are exploring technology to help the soldier of the future gear up with more strength and firepower.
While soldiers need strength and endurance on the battlefield, there are times when they also need stealth. Camouflaged uniforms can help soldiers move undetected when the mission calls for it. In the future, a revolutionary new technology might even make the soldier invisible.
If I were to make myself invisible to you, what I would do is I'd get a cloak. And the cloak would consist of a cylinder that I would put around me. What would happen is the light coming from the wall back there would hit the back of the cloak, come around, and then go right to you. So you would see basically right through me. With metamaterials and the new kinds of materials that we are developing, we are able to control light as never before. It's like a whole new ball game. You start with some sort of given material like silicon, let's say, or something like that, and then you embed it. You embed it with small nanoparticles or tiny gold rods or maybe even tiny slivers of semiconductors. Now, by making these metamaterials, we're able to control light in these new ways. All the textbook things you read about light are now wrong. We can do things that beyond all these limits.
You can catch a glimpse of more U.S. Army research for the future soldier in the latest edition of Recon, premiering Monday, June 6th, right here on the Pentagon Channel. Coming up ahead on Around the Services, we'll head to a special ceremony honoring the men and women who fought in the Battle of Midway. But first, Lincoln Logs, how a new library named after the American president is helping the Afghan people learn construction skills.